And it is called Mr. Potato Head and the Quest for the Golden Spud. And I should tell you guys to listen very carefully, because there's going to be some clues in here of some of the things that we're going to be learning at VBS. Okay, so you'll be like ahead of the game. The sun was shining, and Mr. Potato Head stretched and jumped out of bed. It was time to get to work. Mr. Potato Head was working as an archaeologist. Do you guys know what an archaeologist is? What does an archaeologist do? What does it do? You know what it is, but you don't know. An archaeologist is somebody that looks for artifacts and things, learns about other civilizations and things, right? Well, that's what he was doing. And he had helped to make some pretty amazing discoveries, like finding King Tut's tomb and like finding the Dead Sea Scrolls. But he was working on a very special project that had him really excited to get to work. He was on a quest to find the Golden Spud, an incredibly rare artifact dating back hundreds of years that would help prove the existence of an ancient potato civilization. He was narrowing in on its location, and he couldn't wait to continue his research. Well, Mr. Potato Head went about his morning routine. He made his breakfast, he brushed his teeth, and he took the dog out for a walk. He still had a few minutes before he had to get out the door, so he made a cup of coffee and sat down to read the morning news. As he flipped through the pages, there was one headline that caught his attention. The headline read, "Spelunking Tater Company closing in on Golden Spud." "What? No way!" exclaimed Mr. Potato Head. "What's wrong, dear?" asked Miss Potato Head, and she said, "Shh, keep your voice down. Spud Jr. is still sleeping." "Sorry," whispered Mr. Potato Head. "Look at this! Spelunking Tater Company and that rotten potato are after my Golden Spud. They are dirty, the whole bunch of them. They will stop at nothing to be the first ones to find the Golden Spud. And if they get their hands on it first, there is no telling what could happen from all the publicity and money and all the power that comes along with it. Spelunking has to be stopped. My team and I have to find the Golden Spud before they do." "Oh, honey, please be careful. I don't have a good feeling about this," cautioned Mrs. Potato Head. "Please promise me you won't get caught up in all of the hype surrounding the Golden Spud. I don't trust that rootless potato." "Oh, aren't you just a sweet potato? I'll be careful, but I cannot sit by and be a spectator to all of this. I have to try and get that spud before it ends up in the wrong hands." Well, with that, Mr. Potato Head kissed Miss Potato Head goodbye. Everybody say, "Ooh, gross." And he headed out the door. As Mr. Potato Head drove to the office, some of his confidence started to fade. As he started to listen to the little voice inside his head that was saying things like, "Who do you think you are to be able to take on the evil spelunking?" Or, "Sure, you've been part of some major findings before, but you're out of your league on this one. You know what they say, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the pot." Well, by the time Mr. Potato Head got to the office, he had pretty much lost all of his starch. What had he been thinking? He made his way to his team meeting and was met by his friends, Russet and Yukon. "Hey," he sighed as he greeted them. "Hey yourself, what's gotten into you?" "You sure are looking like one sad and dejected potato this morning," said Russet. "I think we're going to get started now," said Yukon. "What's the point?" said Mr. Potato Head. "Let's face it, we don't have half the skills and resources that spelunking has. We don't stand a chance of getting to that golden spud before he does. Well, not with that attitude, exclaimed Russet. Seriously, were you up too late again last night, binge watching Star Trek? You sure are acting salty today. I'm just being realistic, said Mr. Potato Head. Well, you all know my philosophy, said Yukon. I think, therefore I am. So, let's think. What do we know to be true? Spudlunking is slimy. True. Spudlunking is bigger and has more influence than we do. True. Spudlunking has eyes everywhere. True. Is this supposed to be helping, said Mr. Potato Head. Hang on, let me finish, said Yukon. We are not alone in our quest to find the golden spud. We have God on our side. I was reading in Psalm 139 this morning, and it talks about the fact that God knows us. He knows everything about us. When we get up, when we go to bed, what we're doing, where we're going. He knows our thoughts and our fears. Just think about David in the Bible. He was the youngest of his brothers, and no one thought he could do very much of anything. But it was David that God chose to be king of Israel. He helped him defeat the giant Goliath, and he helped him through many other times when he was in trouble, afraid and alone. Part of what God saw in David was his heart, and with God's help, we can make sure that Spudlunking doesn't get his hands on the golden spud, but we can do it in a way that's fair and honest, and hopefully show him that there is a better way to do things. Whoa, you are so wise, said Russet in amazement. You're right, said Mr. Potato Head. I am not going to let my doubts and insecurities hold me back. Thanks for the reminder, Yukon. I needed that. Being known by God is more valuable and amazing than any golden spud. So, where do we start? And they got down to work. Well, that evening, Mr. Potato Head spent some time outside watering the flowers and feeding the chickens. And as he worked, he continued to think about the plan that was coming together to find the golden spud. They had a good plan, and he was thankful for good friends that helped him when he was in need of help. And as he looked at the flowers and the birds, he was reminded of how much God cared for them. And if he cared that much about them, surely God knew and cared for him too, and would be with him and help him no matter what might happen as he continued on his quest for the golden spud. And you'll have to stay tuned for what happens on his journey to find the golden spud.